Hi, this is Cheryl McQueen with Bello's Designs. This video tutorial uses the Lavinia robin called Jemima and has her carefully watching over her nest of eggs. I've added a hint of sparkle gel pens just to give it a little bit of a kick. It's a little bit hard to see that unless you just kind of move the card around so the light catches it just a little bit. I hope that you enjoyed this video tutorial. Let's go ahead and take a look at the supplies that I'll be using today. We will use a multifarious Smooth and Supreme cardstock, and then what I have done with that is I couldn't find a stamp of a robin's nest that I really liked, so I went on to clipartlibrary.com and got this free picture of a bird's nest. I then printed that out on my computer onto the Lavinia cardstock. And by the way, this piece has been cut down to 3.5 inches by 4 3/4 inches. I then have a frame that I use around the art piece. That's just a plain piece of cardstock that has been cut to 3 3/4 inches by 5 inches. And then for the card base, I just took a piece of 8.5 by 11 cardstock, cut that in half to create a half piece, which I then took and folded in half as well. For our stamps, we will have 2 of them that we will use. The first one is Jemima, who is the robin, and her number is LAV 925. And then we will use the oak leaf branch. This one is LAV 468. For the inks today, it looks like I've got a whole lot of them, but we just use little bits in different places. So I'm using Distress inks today. I'm going to be using Barn Door, Walnut Stain, Hickory Smoke, Broken China, Black Soot, Salty Ocean, and Vintage Photo. For my basic stamping ink, I am going to be using the VersaFine Clair Nocturne. The coloring is going to be of various things, and you can choose whichever you prefer to use. I will be doing some painting using the inks. I will be using the some art markers, and I'll be using the Tim Holtz watercolor pencils. So this is the Tim Holtz watercolor pencils. I'll be using set 1 because I'm just pulling out a couple of colors from that. I've also got some art markers. And then for our leaves and for a little bit of accenting, I'm going to be using the Uniball Signo Sparkling Gel Roller Pens. These will be the ones that colors I'll be using are the fall colors. So this will be add a nice little kick to it. I will also be using a fine tip black ink pen. For doing the painting portion, I just have a little fine brush, paintbrush on hand. And then of course I'll be using a blending brush and a little dauber. To do my stamping, I'll be using my stamping platform. I have a little sticky grid on that so that I don't have to use magnets. And then finally, for putting our card together, I like to use a crafter's tape, just a sticky tape instead of glue while I'm doing demonstrations, but you can use a paper glue as well. It just goes a little bit faster when I'm demonstrating to use this kind of tape. All right. So I think we're ready to start working on our project. Okay, so as I said before, I went out and got a free clip art to make my nest since I couldn't find a stamp that I really liked. This is something that I do sometimes because I'm going to have something in mind, can't find exactly the right stamp, then I can find a free clip art. So I took that piece of clip art and just printed it out onto my multifarious Smooth and Supreme cardstock. So the first thing that you'll want to do after you print that out is I like to go ahead and extend the branches just a little bit. So this is why I've got my black fine tip pen. And with that, what I'm going to do is just basically draw and extend that out just a little bit. Add a little bit of some branch details to it. And then I will go on and do it on this side as well. And this is just taking this black pen and just adding in the little details. It's just basically like just some little scribbles. And it's just extending that so that it looks like that piece is just a little bit longer there. All right, and so that's basically all you really need to do. This is optional if you don't want to do that. I just like mine to go ahead and go on out to the edges of the card. So once we've done that, I'm going to go ahead and grab my stamping platform so that we can go ahead and stamp our robin standing on the nest. So I will take my stamping platform and place my card down on that and get my little robin and just place her standing on the edge of the nest. I'll use the VersaFine Clair Nocturne. Ink up her stamp and get her standing right there nicely on our edge of the nest. I do like to hold it down for just a few seconds. That gives the card stock an opportunity to absorb the ink so that we get a really nice crisp image. There we go. And you can always, the nice thing about the stamping platform for me is that I can always stamp a second time if I don't get the image that I really want the first time around. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and remove this from the stamping platform. We will bring it back when we're ready to put our leaves on. But we will just pull this up, set the stamping platform aside. And now we're going to go ahead and just put in our background color. So I'm going to use the Salty Ocean for my blue sky. And I'm just going to kind of go around the edges of the artwork. It doesn't matter if it gets over it just a tiny little bit because we will be coloring and or painting. But I prefer not to get it completely all over that if I can avoid it. Okay, so you probably noticed I didn't put it on too dark. I just kind of wanted to have just the kind of the hint and the look of a sky back there. I'm not actually going to be putting in a whole lot of details or anything in the background this time. I'm going to let everything in the foreground be the impressive, the part that really stands out. So you won't really need to do a whole lot to the background. Obviously you can choose to do how you like, but I wanted the background to not be the focal point. I wanted to have the things in the foreground actually pop up and really show up a lot. So it's just a very light coating that I've put down. Okay, so now at this point, let's go ahead and just color in our bird's nest. This one I decided to go ahead and use my art markers. Like I said before, you can use art markers, you can use your paint with your inks if you'd like to, or you can use colored pencils. But I decided to go ahead and do this. So what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to take my art marker, I'm going to color in my nest, and then I've got a brown that I'm going to use for my branch, and I have got a robin's eggs blue color that I will do my eggs in. So as you will watch here, I will probably speed the video up just a little bit, but I'm going to color all of these aspects in. Okay, so what you saw me do there was put in our base color. So I colored in the base on the nest, the base on the branch, and the base on the eggs. And so what I'm going to now do is go back in and put a little bit of shadowing in there. So I'll start out with the branch. I've got a little bit darker color of the brown. And the nice thing about this is that it does have little indicators here as to where some of the shadowing is. So that's going to help you with knowing where to kind of add some a little bit darker color so that we can get some shadows casting here. With adding in those shadows like that, that just gives it just a little bit more of a realistic look instead of just having one flat color. So I'm just going to go in and just touch into some of these places here along the branches. Just to give that nice shadow. Alright, so you can see what a difference that makes as far as giving it some dimension when we add in those little bit of shadows. So now let's put a little bit in here on our eggs. We'll kind of put where it's close to the edge of the nest, and we've got some shading and shadows. Highlight a few of the little speckles. Again, just adding a little bit of depth. Now I decided for my nest that I was just going to go ahead and use the Tim Holtz watercolor pencils. I've got Walnut Stain and Black Soot, and I'm just going to literally go in there and just draw in some things, color in like around the base where we're going to obviously have more shadows, and then just go in and just do some of the branches just a little darker, because obviously all the branches are not going to be all the same color. So we're just going to go in there and add a little bit darker color. And the nice thing about this is if you choose, which I did not do, but if you choose, you can also blend it some. You can take a wet paintbrush and dab it across where you have used this watercolor pencil, and that way you'll be able to get it to blend a little bit. Now I know it's kind of hard for you to probably see, but when you see it in reality, you can see where you're getting the darker shades. Now I use the Walnut Stain, but I also use the Black Soot. So that just gives us a couple of variations in the shadowing. Especially in the areas where it's going to be particularly dark is where I'm going to use the black soot. And then again, I'm just going to dash it in some places in the branch. Because obviously when our robin builds her little nest there, she's got varying depths of her branches. So we need to see those shadows tucked into those branches. Alright, so again, this just gives us a little bit more reality. Alright, so now we are ready to go ahead and move on and start working on our robin. So what I'm going to start out with is I'm going to go ahead and get my paintbrush out. And let's see if I can scooch some of this over just a little bit so that you can kind of see my work area here. So I like to work over here on the white side when I'm doing painting. So what we're going to do is start out with our red barn. And I'm just going to put a dash of red barn down on my work surface there. And then I'll take a little bit of water and just spritz it so that I have water to mix with the ink. I'm going to take that and I'm just going to paint the robin's breast. Just kind of pull it down there. And then on the underneath side, because that's where she's got a little bit more shadowing, I'm going to put the red just a little bit darker so that you've got it kind of blending up and you've got a little bit of a natural highlight there. So hopefully you can kind of see how I've done that. All right, and then I'm going to clean up my work surface and we're going to move on to the vintage photo. And one of the things you will want to do is spritz your brush so that you can kind of get that other color out. I just spritz it a little bit and then wipe it a few times till that color comes out. And we will go on to vintage photo. Same process, just put some ink down onto your surface. Spritz a little water, and this is a very light color. So this one is basically going to go all the way across the robin on the top part. Right up here. We're going to leave this part for our hickory smoke. If you ever go out and look at pictures of robins, you'll actually notice that some of their lower feathers are kind of more of a gray or a light whitish color. Alright, so now we've got her top color with the vintage photo. Then we're going to go to the walnut stain. Because also I'd noticed when I was looking at the pictures that their heads are darker than the rest of their body. So I'm going to use the walnut stain. Again, spritz a little water down there to mix with it. And then I'm just going to paint her head with that darker color of brown. Give her that realistic kind of look there. Now, I'd kind of wondered about that space around her eye, and I actually did look at that closely too on the picture, and most of them have white around their eye, so I'm not going to paint or change the color of the area around her eye. Alright, so same process. We're going to clean up our table. I'm going to grab another paper towel, clean off my brush. that brown color off. And now we will do our hickory smoke. Let's see where that is. There's hickory smoke. So take my hickory smoke, put that down. And we're not using a whole lot, but it's enough to just add some really nice color. So with this one, I'm going right down here below the wing on the lower portion of the body and adding that hickory smoke in. And then you kind of see that little spot right there on her wing that's highlighted. I'm going to color that in with the hickory smoke as well. And there we go. We've got a really nice natural look to her there, and the shadowing hopefully will also give that touch of reality that we would like to look for. Okay, so now we're ready to go ahead and stamp our oak leaves on. So let's move on and do that next. Okay, I do want to do one little thing before we go ahead and do that. I want to go ahead and add the robin's shadow on the nest as she's standing there. She's going to cast just a little bit of a shadow. So I'm just going to take some black soot and just a little dauber and just do a little bit of a shadow underneath there. Again, that's just giving us more dimension and reality. All right, so we will pull out our stamping platform now and put our oak leaves onto our tree. All right, so place our card down on the stamping platform, and I'm going to go ahead and grab like a little piece of scrap paper. I like to put it around the edge so that I don't get ink all over my stamping grid here. So let's just get a little piece here, put that up here. Alright, so I think what I want to do, and let me go ahead and I'm going to pull out this just so we can kind of get an idea of how we want our leaves to lay. So I think I'm just going to have one kind of coming from the side here. So we'll just kind of have a piece where the leaves come in. Take our Nocturne ink, get a nice good impression of our leaves. Here we go. And let's go ahead and have some coming in from the right hand corner of the picture as well. So I'm going to go ahead and move my little piece of paper here. And we will have this kind of coming down across the corner here. Oops, look at that. I got ink all over my hands. Let me get that wiped off because we sure don't want to get that on our picture. All right, so now we've got that in place. All right, there's a nice image there. And now let's go ahead and put one down at the bottom. I'm actually going to go ahead and scoot this up just a little bit. Put my little piece down here. And take our leaves and let's see, to have them coming up from the bottom. Maybe somewhere right around in here. Oops. Make sure I got enough ink on that top part there. And all right. So now we can go ahead and remove our piece from the stamping platform and go in and add a little bit of sparkle and some detail on our leaves. I'm going to go ahead and scoot that back over, and we will get our leaves going. Okay, so before we add our sparkle in, I'm going to go ahead and put a framing edge around my picture. I always like to do that. It just, to me, seems like it pulls the eye towards the center, and it just gives it a nice finished look. The reason I usually do this last, but one of the reasons I'm going to do this now is because when I put the glitter pen on there, it's going to pick up when I start doing my edging on my piece and get on my ink pad. As you can see, I've actually did that one time, and that's how I learned that. So I'm going to go ahead and do this first. So what I'm going to do is just get some of this broken china and just start going in a nice little circling pattern around the outer edge. And what this does is it just adds a little interest, adds that frame. And I think, just to me, that's my way of giving it a nice little finishing touch. If you prefer not to do that, of course it's optional, but this is just something that I started doing, and I've really enjoyed the effect that it gives the cards. All right. So there we go. We've got just a nice little bit of a framing edge there. Okay. So I'm going to take out my ink pens, my gel pens, and I've got 4 colors that I'm going to use. I've got the red, the yellow, and the orange that we will do the leaves with. I will use the red to just add just a little bit of interest to the robin's breast, and then I have a blue to add just a little bit of sparkle to the eggs as well. So I'm going to start doing that and show you how we do that. Then as I continue coloring, I'll probably speed the video up. So basically what you're going to do is take your gel pen, and you want to leave just a little bit of the black edge showing. That just kind of outlines your leaf. And then you're just going to color in the leaves with that sparkle gel pen. I'm going to be using all of the red, the yellow, and the orange, just in various places. So you'll see me finish up with this or pick up and trade out several times my colors as I figure out how I want to color which leaf what color. So now that's what we're going to do, and then I will come back in and you'll see that I will color the robin's breast and highlight the eggs just a little bit. Okay, so now we've got the color in for the sparkle that we like, the little glitter gel pens there. And now I'm going to go ahead and take my heat tool and just dry it just a little bit, because what I do like to do is go in and add some veins using our black pen, fine tip pen, just to kind of give it a little bit of detail. So let's just dry this up just to make sure that we don't smear our gel pen. All right, and then I'm going to take that fine tip black pen and I'm just going to go in and kind of just add a few little veins, not a whole lot, just enough to kind of give it a little bit of detail on top of that glitter that we've done, the glitter gel pen. You won't be able to see it probably very well on my video here, but when you do this in person, you'll be able to see those veins. That just gives it that one more little touch of reality. Make sure my pen continues to write, because it does have a little bit of a hard time on top of that gel ink. All right. So now we are ready to put our card together. I am going to spritz the top of the table just a little bit so that we don't get any colors on our card that we don't want when we turn it over to put the card together. You can kind of see how the ink gets all over my work surface. So if we clean that up, we don't have to worry about it messing up our card. All right, so the first thing that I'm going to do is take my, if I grab it here real quick, my little piece of cardstock that I'm going to use as a frame. And then we're going to take our adhesive running tape, or if you'd prefer, you can use your paper glue. And we're going to put that all around the edges. And actually, I didn't do that the way I wanted to, so I usually do this first, and I actually prepared this to put on the cardstock. So I'm going to go ahead and put this down on our cardstock first, and then we'll go back and put that on. Either order is fine. I just usually put the frame on first, but this time I started it backwards. Okay, so now we've got the frame on our art card, our card base, and now we'll do our art card onto our frame. All right, get that centered into the middle of my frame. And there we go. There is our little project with the robin watching over her nest, and the little bit of kick there with the glitter gel pens. Thank you so much for watching my video tutorial today. This card can be used as a fall or a spring project. If you want to make it a spring project, you can always do your leaves in green, or change the oak leaves to mistletoe and create a lovely holiday card. Remember to check out more tutorials on the design team page at delbellosdesigns.com. Have a great day.